Okay, let's get started with this N-channel MOSFET. So, this is a cross-sectional view of N-channel MOSFET. Hopefully, we have asked a question. You can just want to remind you. We asked a question MOSFET whether it is a 3-terminal or 4-terminal device. So, for that the answer is here. The MOSFET is basically a 4-terminal device, as you can see here. One of them is going to be the source here, and there is a gate you can see here, there is a drain, and the bottom you can see there is a bulk. Okay, B stands here bulk. So, these are the 4 terminals of MOSFET. Okay, so these are the terminals. Most of the times we do not use this terminal bulk here, source and bulk we used to short most of the times, especially when we use MOSFET for digital circuits application, then we will short source and substrate or source and bulk. Okay. So, for some applications we may use this voltage between source and bulk, but for most of the times this will be short circuited. Okay. So, this is a cross sectional view of N channel MOSFET. You can say this is an cross section of N channel MOSFET. Okay. Okay. In this cross section of N channel MOSFET, you can see that since it is a N channel MOSFET, look at the type of substrate here. The type of substrate should be of P type. Okay, that is the P type substrate we must choose. That is this will act like a foundation material or background material. On top of that, we are going to diffuse N plus region to N plus region. Okay, so you will see shortly the fabrication of this MOSFET device. You will get to know there how this complete cross section or MOSFET structure is fabricated. So, there are 2 N plus structure, one of them will serve as a source and other one will serve as a drain here. Okay. Since they are equally doped, source and the drain regions are equally doped, it becomes difficult for us to identify which terminal to be considered as source and drain. Later in higher semester you will understand with reference to the difference between the source and drain terminal. For the time being, you not worry about source and drain terminal. This is not like BJT. In BJT, emitter is heavily doped, collector is moderately doped, whereas in case of MOSFET, source and drain they are equally doped and they are heavily doped, of course. Okay. So, that is the difference between BJT and MOSFET. And as you can see in the top layer here, there are totally 2 distinct layers here. The top one, which is the shaded portion, what you see here, this is going to be the metal. Okay. So, metal means this was name used traditionally, but currently this metal is of polysilicon type, polycrystalline silicon. Earlier we were using this metal as aluminum, but now this aluminum has been replaced with polycrystalline silicon. That is the difference. Immediately below this metal layer you see a silicon dioxide layer, which is an insulator here. Okay. You can also just write a 3D structure of this, though we have shown here a cross sectional view. The 2D structure will be something like this, the 3D structure will be something like this. Okay. This is how the N channel cross section or 3D structure of an N channel MOSFET looks like. Okay. Similarly, you can also construct P channel MOSFET. What may be the changes you are going to do to construct P channel MOSFET? What should be the type of substrate for p channel? For n channel we have chosen p type substrate. Obviously for p channel this must be n type substrate. So, the substrate should be of n type, and what should be the layers, the diffusion, source and drain regions? It should be of p plus. So, if you replace this n plus with p plus, this n plus with p plus, and substrate if it is of n type, okay, substrate. Okay, so this becomes a p channel, okay, MOSFET. That is the only changes you are supposed to make. But in our discussion we will consider always n channel MOSFET. So, it becomes easy for you to understand. Okay, so, if we consider any one of these devices. So, let us assume in our discussion throughout the course we are going to consider n channel MOSFET. So, that means we will see a p type substrate and two n plus regions which are acting like source and drain region here. Okay. And if you look at circuit symbols of this n channel MOSFET, which is as shown here. So, there is a gate you can see here. This is again circuit symbol differs with reference to the type of MOSFET. This is for n channel circuit symbol. You can see the arrow mark is inward. Okay, so, you can see that arrow mark is inward here. So, this is there is a space between these, you can see here. Okay, this is a gate terminal, source and a drain, and there is a gap between drain and the bulk, and there is a source and the bulk. So, this shows that there is no current will not flow until you apply some voltage at the gate. Okay, so, this is for enhancement device circuit symbol. Same device circuit symbol differs with reference to enhancement. You can also see here even we apply voltage between the drain and source. If we connect some voltage here, positive voltage if we apply between drain and source, current does not flow because this source region and drain region they are isolated. You will see a depletion region here. Okay, so, since it is n plus here, so there is a p substrate in between that. Okay, so, let us remove this so that you understand. Let us consider only the n channel device. Okay, I will remove this so that. So, now let us consider this n channel device for our discussion. So, now you can see that if you apply voltage, let me remove this and apply connect some voltage here, so that you will have an understanding of. Okay, so, let us remove this and connect some voltage between drain and source. Okay. Okay. Now, if I connect some voltage between drain and source, let us say we apply here positive voltage to drain. Okay, so, let us say we connect here positive voltage here to drain. Let us ground this source here. Okay, we can short circuit this source and bulk and connect this to ground. Okay. Now, you can see that here current cannot flow through this the drain to source. The IDS what you are expecting here is going to be 0 because there is a isolation here. So, surrounding this n plus region you can see the depletion region here, okay, because it is a p-n junction, right. So, there is a p type substrate and there is an n plus region. So, here it forms a p-n junction. You can just imagine a type of diode something like this here, okay, and even here also. So, surrounding this n plus region you will see a depletion layer. Okay. So, you will have a diode here. Okay. Now, since this drain region and source region they are completely isolated by this p type substrate here, current cannot flow via this the source drain to source region here. Okay. So, current is going to be 0 for this, even though we applied here voltage. This voltage can be called as VDS, drain to source voltage, because source is at the ground. So, this point becomes a source now. Okay, so source is connected straight away at ground. Okay, so without the gate voltage here, you can see that now these two regions remains isolated here. Now, what happens if you apply positive voltage at the gate? Same circumstance you can see here below, it is shown here when you apply positive voltage at the gate, but for this circuit symbol is as shown here. Okay, so without gate voltage here, if gate voltage is made 0, okay, so even if you apply voltage between drain and source here, okay, so the current cannot flow here. So, the IDS will be 0 even if you apply drain with positive voltage. Okay. So, in the depletion mode it is little different. So, depletion mode we are going to apply negative voltage to the gate, and we will see that what happens for the negative voltage to the gate. But here let us analyze for the positive voltage of the gate below here. So, for the same device structure, when we apply positive voltage to the gate terminal, positive voltage, all voltages are applied here with reference to source here. Let us connect here positive voltage to the gate here. Let us have here connection something like this, battery connected like this. Now, you can see positive voltage is connected to the gate. This voltage can be called as VGS. Okay. Now, see what kind of charges, since it is it acts like a capacitor, that there is a top layer is going to be the conductor, below there is a silicon dioxide, this is going to be the silicon dioxide, and there is a semiconductor layer here which is p type substrate. Now, we will see that when we apply positive gate voltage here, the negative charges are going to induce here, the all electrons will accumulate below the silicon dioxide here. You are seeing here negative charges, induced electrons here, and these electrons will form an n type here. So, this completely within the substrate you are seeing this is a completely is a substrate layer, and because of positive voltage applied here, due to the capacitance effect here, the negative charges will accumulate below the silicon dioxide. These negative charges what you are seeing here will be of n type, and therefore, there is now continuity between the source region and the drain region. Okay. Now, in this case if you apply voltage between drain and source, you can see here now I am connecting a power supply here between drain and source. So, I will ground once again this source and bulk. Okay, I will connect this to the ground here. Okay. Now, you can see here. So, this voltage can be called as VDS. Now, current will start flowing through this, because now there is a continuity here between the drain and as well as the source regions. So, current will start flowing like this. You can see current flows like this. Okay. So, this is there is an IDS here. The conclusion here is, for the positive gate voltage that we have applied, the region here called as a channel region here. Now, there is a channel built, induced channel here. Instead of saying built here, let us call this as a channel as an induced channel. So, there is an induced channel because of the positive gate voltage or gate source voltage we have applied, and this induced channel will carry the charge carriers here. Okay. So, when we apply drain source voltage, so the current will start flowing from drain terminal to the source terminal. Electrons will be flowing from source to drain, current will be flowing from drain to source. And now, you know the importance of VGS and VDS. Through this VGS, we can control this current flow. Okay. Earlier, you have seen in the first case here, when gate to source voltage is not applied, even though we have applied drain to source voltage, there was no current flow. In this case, IDS was 0, because though we have applied VDS, these two regions, source and drain regions, remains isolated. Whereas here, once we apply positive gate voltage, negative charges induced here, this forms an induced channel. The induced channel now carries the charge carriers from drain to source when VDS is applied. Okay. So, both voltages are necessary for the current to flow here. Now, with the help of VGS, we can control the current movement from drain to source here. Now, more positive gate voltage that we apply here, the channel here below, induced channel here, keep enhancing here. Okay. So, the channel will keep on enhancing here. That means, the path between drain and source region keeps increasing, and more voltage VDS applied here, more current will keep flowing from drain to source terminal here. This is how the MOSFET device works here. Okay. Now, let us focus here as particularly into the gate region. Let me draw here which region we are interested in. Okay. Let us only extract this region which I have highlighted here. You can see here I am going to extract this region. Okay. Okay. I am ignoring other regions in the N channel MOSFET and the structure which looks like here. Okay, you can see this structure now is as shown here. Okay, so now this becomes the, if I extract this green portion here, so this becomes a 2 terminal device now here. This can be called as MOS diode. Okay, because if you understand this working the charge flow within the gate region, then entire MOSFET working can be understood in a better way. So, now let us try to extract this portion, and you can see here we have written gate terminal as it is, and there is a bulk which is shown below here, and rest of the area regions we are ignoring here. Let us now try to understand only MOSFET as a 2 terminal device. Okay, only with gate and bulk let us try to understand this entire MOSFET here. So, when we ignore other regions here, the device which looks like this, and again you can see within this there is a metal region, as you can see, which is of polysilicon type, and there is an oxide here. This is an oxide layer, silicon dioxide, which is a best insulator among the available insulators, and this is going to be of silicon dioxide type. And there is a substrate here, which you can see. In our case, the substrate is of P type substrate. For N channel MOSFET, we have considered P type substrate. So now this becomes the 2 terminal device here. Okay. So, this can also be called as a MOS capacitor, because the MOSFET works based on the principle of the capacitor. So, therefore, this can be called as a MOS capacitor here. Also, there is the capacitor, as we know that it is 2 plates, okay, separated by dielectric. This is the definition of a capacitor here. There is a 2 plates separated by a dielectric here. Okay. So, let us write here, this is a dielectric material between those 2 plates. If one plate is supplied with say positive charges, the other plate will induce a negative charge here, which is almost same that we have discussed here. Okay. Now, let us consider this. The reason why we are calling this as a MOS capacitor is because the top layer, metal layer, which is basically a conductor, and in our MOSFET case it is going to be polysilicon. So, that will resemble like a top plate. Okay. And the bottom here you can see there is a P type semiconductor. So, that will serve as a bottom plate. Okay. And there in between the metal and the semiconductor, which is of silicon, there is something called silicon dioxide, which is a dielectric here. So, therefore, this MOSFET and capacitors, they are analogous to each other. So, therefore, this can be called as MOS capacitor. Okay. So, the same thing is explained here. So, metal is a conductor, the top layer, which is of polycrystalline silicon type, and oxide layer what you are seeing is a amorphous material type, and semiconductor, which is silicon, which is a crystal. Now, there are 3 different materials here. So, obviously, when there are 3 different materials are interfaced, the energy band diagrams now will vary. There is something called a band bending process happens between the different materials, interface between the different materials, that we are going to study in the energy band diagram. Because there is a metal, we know that there is a different bands. Try to recap the band structure we have discussed in module 1. So, we need to understand the valence band, okay, valence band, and there is a forbidden gap, and there is a conduction band, and you need to understand even the Fermi levels. Okay. Just recap the intrinsic energy level, intrinsic level. So, these things you need to understand when we have different sort of materials here. So, why we need to study the energy band diagram of the MOS, the capacitor or MOS diode, or 2 terminal the MOS structure here. Reason is because of there are three different materials here. The property of each material is going to be different. The difference between valence band and conduction band, the distance between them, that is called as energy, band gap energy. Let me write even that here. So, we need to understand band gap energy between the different materials. So, band gap within the metal region is different, and for the insulator there is a large band gap here, whereas in the semiconductor there is a small band gap between the valence band and the conduction band. Now, we will see in the energy band diagram, when we interface all these three materials together, what happens here. So, definitely there will be a band bending process, and that we are going to discuss in the energy band diagram here. So, in our discussion we are going to consider these kind of the mass orientation. The same mass structure will just rotate anticlockwise, and this kind of structure is used throughout our discussion. So, there is a gate here, you can see, and there is a metal, oxide and semiconductor here. So, this kind of the orientation, mass orientation is used in our energy band diagram discussion here. Okay. So, this is about the basics of the MOSFET, and let us move on to the structure what we are studying here. Now, in our discussion, this kind of structure, two terminal MOS structure is followed, as you are seeing here. This is a two terminal MOS structure, and we defined earlier the definition of threshold voltage. Threshold voltage can be once again reiterated here. The voltage VGS that we apply here for the formation of this the inversion layer here. This layer is called inversion layer, because within the P substrate you are seeing the opposite type of the charge carriers here. So, it is forming a negative type of charge carriers within the P type of substrate here. Therefore, this induced electrons can be called as an inversion layer also. Okay. Now, here how much voltage, what is the gate to source voltage required for the formation of a channel here, or for channel to induce here, that is called as a threshold voltage here. So, VGS will become equal to threshold voltage. Okay. VGS can be called as threshold voltage when there is a induced channel here. Okay. The minimum voltage we need to apply here for the channel to induce here. So, that typically depends on the type of the device. For an N channel, typically this voltage is going to be 1 volt for micrometer technology here. So, that means when we apply VGS as 1 volt here, this is the amount of voltage between gate and source required for the formation of channel here. Okay. If VGS less than VTH, no channel is induced. Okay. So, let us write it here. For VGS less than threshold voltage, okay, this implies no channel formation, no channel. There is no induced channel here. The device looks like somewhat like this, no induced channel. Now, for VGS greater than VTH, for gate to source voltage, if it is applied greater than VTH, now we can say that there is a induced channel get induced. So, you are seeing here channel induced here, and more gate to source voltage we apply, the channel will be enhanced here. Okay, channel region keeps growing here, N type region keeps growing here, there will be strong path between the source and the drain region here. So, that is the definition of the threshold voltage. You can go through this definition here. The threshold voltage is defined as the applied gate voltage required to create the inversion layer charge, or nothing but induced channel. So, that is defined as a threshold voltage here. Okay. With that, let us move on to the few formulas here for with reference to the energy band diagrams here. So, energy band diagram, we have seen this capacitor here. The physical mass structure can be basically understood by using this the parallel plate capacitor. So, just look at this. Okay, so, this mass structure, this is what we have shown with the help of the capacitor here, parallel plate capacitor. The permittivity of this is shown as epsilon, distance between the plates is shown as d here. When we apply negative voltage, we have seen that this here, the positive charges will be at the bottom plate, negative charges will be at the top plate here. Okay. So, this is a parallel plate capacitor showing the electric field and the conduction of the charges here. Okay, both negative and positive charges in the top and bottom plate respectively here. Okay. Now, an insulator material is the one which separates between these two plates. So, in our case with reference to MOSFET, the insulating material is going to be silicon dioxide here. Okay. Now, let us see the formulas related to this. With this bias, a negative charge exists on the top plate and positive charge exists on the bottom plate, that we have seen here, and an electric field is induced between the two plates. Okay, so which is shown in the diagram. Now, let us use the formula as capacitance per unit area. What may be the reason here to use capacitance per unit area? Okay, why we make area as 1 or unit area? Okay, the reason for making A as unit area is because if you know the capacitance per unit area, this can be integrated to the entire surface and total capacitance can be calculated. Okay. Capacitance per unit area is very important and this can be integrated to the entire surface. So, this capacitance per unit area is denoted as C dash or C prime. So, this indicates it is a prime. Okay. So, C prime is equal to epsilon by d because area becomes 1, because we have this is applicable to only unit area here. In IC designs and even in MOSFETs also, we calculate usually the capacitance per unit area, not the actual capacitance. Okay. So, when if we know the capacitance per unit area of each material, maybe silicon dioxide, maybe the metal surface, or maybe the a substrate layer. So, then we can multiply with accordingly with the different we can integrate this each unit area with the entire surface and total capacitance can be calculated here. That is the reason here we use capacitance per unit area in the with reference to the MOSFET. And magnitude of the charge per unit area is calculated by using the same capacitance per unit area. If you multiply with the applied voltage, we can calculate the charge per unit area, which is denoted as Q prime is equal to C prime times V. Okay. So, C prime is capacitance per unit area and V is the applied voltage here. The magnitude of the electric field is given by E is equal to V by D. Okay. So, V is nothing but applied voltage and D is nothing but distance between the plates. So, the amount of the magnitude of electric field which is induced in the channel can be calculated using this formula here. It depends on the applied voltage and it also depends on the distance between the two plates here. Okay. So, this figure shows the mass capacitor with a p type substrate here, and with a top metal gate is at a negative voltage as you are seeing here with reference to the semiconductor substrate. Semiconductor substrate chosen here is p type substrate here. Now, with the top plate applied with negative power supply, so negative charges will be supplied to the top plate. This is a metal plate here, the top plate, and you can see there is a silicon dioxide. This layer is silicon dioxide. Okay. Now, we can see the electric field is acting from the substrate to the metal here. The direction of the electric field is from the substrate to metal. This is the direction of the electric field. Okay. So, and you can see charges now because of negative charges are given to the top plate. So, therefore, bottom layer this layer is induced with the positive kind of charges. All holes will reside here below the oxide semiconductor interface. So, this is called as oxide semiconductor interface, SiO2 and silicon interface. So, in this region you are going to see the positive charges the accumulating here. More negative voltage you apply, more the more and more positive charges get accumulate here. So, the direction of hole movement is shown here. It is from the entire substrate region, the holes keep moving into the oxide semiconductor interface. This is the direction of the hole movement here. Okay. Okay, this is for the negative voltage what we applied, and let us see for the opposite voltage. And again here we are showing with another diagram for increased negative voltage here. So, increased negative voltage here, it forms the layer called as accumulation layer. So, you can see the all positive charges are accumulated below the oxide and semiconductor interface here. Okay. So, for the more positive voltage here. So, more negative voltage to the gate, more and more negative charges appears the at the top plate, equal number of the positive charges will be induced at the bottom plate here, bottom semiconductor oxide interface here. Okay. So, this layer of the positive charges can be called as accumulation layer, because here the holes are accumulated here. And in the next diagram we will show that what happens when the suddenly when the polarity of the applied voltage to the gate changes. So, in previous case you have seen that negative voltage is applied to the gate, whereas here when the polarity of the voltage applied changes. So, applied gate voltage is applied, gate terminal is terminal is applied with positive voltage, and with reference to the substrate here. Now, you can see the electric field and the whole movement as reversed here, whatever you have seen here. In this case, the holes were moving for negative gate voltage, holes are moving towards oxide semiconductor interface, whereas for the positive gate voltage here. Okay. So, electric field is in opposite direction, it is from the gate to the substrate. This is the direction of the electric field when the voltage is changed, and also look at the direction of the holes movement here. Since the positive charges are supplied to the top gate, okay, metal plate here. So, negative charges now will start inducing, and all holes which are here majority charge they get repelled because of the positive charges applied to the gate. So, now holes will move away from this oxide semiconductor interface here. So, this is the direction of holes here. So, just by changing the gate voltage, the direction of holes can be reversed. Okay. For negative gate voltage, holes keep moving towards oxide semiconductor interface. For a positive gate voltage, holes keep moving away from the silicon and semiconductor and oxide interface here. And field direction of electric field also changes, it is always from positive to negative. So, in this case, due to the positive gate voltage, the electric field is acting from gate to the channel. This electric field is responsible for movement of holes here. Okay. So, away from the oxide semiconductor interface here. Okay. So, this is what the diagram it shows you the formation of the inversion layer here that we have discussed with reference to the MOSFET here. Okay. Now, let us move on to the discussion of the fabrication. Before we understand the energy band diagram, let us discuss the MOS fabrication here. Any questions so far with reference to the capacitors, MOS capacitor discussion? So, these are all things what we have discussed comes under MOS capacitor. Okay. Now, let us focus on the MOS fabrication. How do we fabricate MOS transistor? Here we have step by step process which one need to understand. This is study by taken from the textbook Niemann. Okay. So, semiconductor devices and physics and devices, that is from the textbook. So, we have taken all these pictures here. So, this will explain the fabrication of MOSFET here. You can see the final structure that we have shown, which is at the bottom. Okay. So, this is the final, we have here gate, source, gate, and you can see there is a source here, gate, and drain finally, and the bulk terminal can be attached to the bottom of this. But look at this, prior to that there is several steps which we need to understand here. This explains you the MOSFET fabrication here. We need to start with either p type or n type semiconductor material. This will act like a substrate here. To begin with, you are seeing here the p type silicon acting like a substrate here. Since we are fabricating n channel MOSFET, the type of substrate to be chosen is p type substrate. Okay. So, you can see the final device here, there is a p type substrate here, and here there will be a induced negative charge for the positive gate voltage that we apply here. So, therefore, this device is going to be the n channel device here, n channel MOSFET. Okay. So, to start to fabricate n channel MOSFET, we need to select the p type substrate here, and opposite is true. When we want to fabricate p channel MOSFET, we need to select n type of substrate, silicon substrate. So, this is the step 1, choosing the type of substrate here. This is nothing but the rectangular size what we have shown here. This represents a wafer. Though we are discussing here one transistor fabrication, in reality we will fabricate the hundreds of thousands of transistors at a time. Okay. But here for our to simplify our the diagrams, we have shown only one transistor fabrication in the entire wafer, but adjacent to this you can also many transistors are fabricated simultaneously here. So, this shows the cross sectional view of wafer, silicon wafer here. Okay. So, it is nothing but it is a wafer. Okay. Wafer, probably those who doesn't have idea of wafer how it looks, I will take you to the wafer diagram. Let me show you the wafer. Yeah, I just want to show you the wafer how it looks like. Okay, so this is the wafer as you are seeing here. This is the clean room where MOSFETs are fabricated. And just open up this. Okay, you can see, and just open up a clean room. Yeah, I will just minimize this. This is a clean room where ICs get fabricated. Okay, so there is again the cleanliness within this chamber, that matters a lot. Even many times, the dust particle will kill many transistor. So therefore, we need to maintain, the ultra high cleanliness in the chamber, in the fabrication chamber here. Okay, so this is the cleanly. You can see that people who work here are wearing, the complete body is covered with the material which is dust free, okay, material. Okay, and you can see other diagrams. I just want to show you the wafer how it looks. Okay, you can see this is a silicon wafer. You can see this here. This, even though here the small surface what you see here is one IC here. Within this you will see a billions of transistors here. Okay, so small portion what you see here. Just I want to highlight here. Okay, small portion here what you see here. This is going to be one chip. Okay. I think something is drawing this. Okay, I am unable to write this. Okay. Let me try now. Okay, now I think, yeah, this is the small IC area you can see here. Small rectangular pieces. These are the IC. Okay. Within this you can see there are billions of transistors will be residing here. This entire thing is called as a wafer. So this is a wafer. Okay, the diameter of this wafer depends. Okay, it comes with, though we have shown here with bigger size, usually a diameter of wafer will be 8 inch or 12 inch, it depends. Okay, more the diameter, more ICs can be fabricated. And even yield within this wafer also depends, because at outer, the circumference area, we may lose ICs here. You can see this here, ICs yield decreases, because of this, so at the peripheral, okay, so you can see here we may lose ICs here. So this is what one small area, rectangular size. Okay, in a wafer, we fabricate similar ICs here. Okay, maybe this IC may be the Pentium chip. Okay, a Pentium processor. Like this, you will have, then in an entire wafer you will see only Pentium ICs. That's how the ICs are fabricated from a cost point of view. So we fabricate similar ICs in the entire wafer here. Okay, and within that you see a billions of transistor, and one such transistor we are going to show in our we are discussing how to fabricate in our course. Okay, I hope you understood this, how exactly the wafer looks like. Wafer is just similar to the compact disc. That's a diameter. It depends on the type of, it comes with 8 inch or 12 inch diameter. And technology used is, nowadays it's going to be nanometer technology, though our textbook focuses on micrometer. Currently it is in nanometer technology. Okay, so the distance between source and drain within this billions of transistors, within that you can, what you can see, what you can make out here. So that each transistor, this source and drain distance is going to be in nanometer. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the other things. This is what we have shown here, and this is a mask. You can see, I will come back to this mask later. but just have a look at mask. Mask is very important in the IC fabrication. Okay, you can see this is a mask here. Mask is nothing but which contains the shadow of the transistors which you are fabricating. You can see this is a mask which will protect certain layers in the IC fabrication here. Though it is very difficult for you to visualize here, this is a thin glass plate, okay, which can be called as a mask. You will see in our MOSFET fabrication where we are going to use mask. Okay, so this is called as mask. So this is a mask. Let me highlight here. So this is mask. Okay, so masks are very important because we use in an IC typically 40 to 45 masks are used in transistor fabrication here. In every stage we need to use a mask. Okay, so mask is somewhat like in a photo printing, we may use negative, that negative is nothing but captures our image features. Likewise, even in IC fabrication, this contains transistor information. Okay, each step we need to use separate mask, and here we are seeing the a typical mask layer, how it looks. Okay, now let us move on to the other things. I think these things we'll discuss again in fabrication. I will just show another photograph of mask where it is clear. You can see now here how the mask looks like. Okay, I'll just zoom it out. Okay, this is a person holding mask. You can see here there's a glass plate. It looks like glass, typically glass plate here. Okay, so this contains opaque and transparent portions, nothing else here. Okay, it's very minute, you can see, because everything is going to be nanometer. Okay, and again, once again, you can see here this is a wafer. On top of this, we will hold mask to fabricate ICs here. So you can see this is typical ICs which are fabricated already. Okay, so empty wafer I will show you here before fabricating. You can see this is how the wafers looks like, empty wafer. Okay, so without any ICs fabricated, the typical mask looks like this. Okay, so this is going to be the mask before we fabricate ICs. This mask it looks like. Okay. Okay, so there are in a given cylinder, in a given silicon ingot, we can have many the slices. One slice is called the mask. Okay, so let me show you that. So if you look at silicon ingot, it will be of a cylindrical shape like this. Cylindrical shape somewhat like this. When we cut them into the slices like this silicon ingot, okay, you get a one slice which looks like this. That can be called as a mask. Okay. Okay, and other things I think we will come back to this. Okay, it's later in module 5, and we'll discuss about how to fabricate the BJT and MOSFETs. All those things we'll discuss in that topic. Okay, so that's what we want to share here. This is a wafer. Now we have seen here. You are seeing here the front view of the wafer. That's what we have shown here, right? This is the wafer, empty wafer. When you hold disk and look at front view, it looks like this. And moreover, we are discussing here only one transistor fabrication. Like this, the process can be repeated on the entire wafer, and we can fabricate the millions and billions of transistors. Okay, now let us go to the step number 2. This is step number 1. Step number 2 is, as you are seeing here on top, we are going to coat with silicon dioxide here. Okay, we are going to diffuse with oxidize with a layer called as silicon dioxide here. This is what you are seeing here as now at the bottom, and on top of that you are seeing silicon dioxide as another layer, which is used silicon dioxide, which will protect many other layers while using diffusing this layer with the n plus regions. We need to protect some layers. You will see the importance of this silicon dioxide later also. Silicon dioxide is mainly used in the fabrication here. Now, the entire surface of wafer is coated with thin silicon dioxide here. Okay, and next you can see in the third C, we have deposited the photoresist. Photoresist is a PR stands for photoresist, and this is called as a photoresist, a material which is sensitive for the light, So, that material we are going to coat develop on top of the silicon dioxide. Now, you are seeing totally 3 layers. One is substrate, on top of that what you are seeing is silicon dioxide. Now, what you are seeing is photoresist. Now, 3 layers you are seeing in the up to this figure C. So, we have deposited photoresist, a layer which is very thin and is sensitive for the light now. Now, you can see here we are using here mask, right. So, just now we showed you the mask how it looks like. So, this is the diagram that shows you the mask. Okay. So, this kind of mask will prepare for each and every step, and you are seeing one such mask here. Okay. The front view of the mask looks like this. You can see here there is a opaque portion, there is a transparent portion here, and on top of that we are going to pass UV light, ultraviolet radiations here. Certain the layer which are under this opaque, they are protected, and layer which are outside this the opaque region of the mask. Okay, so that becomes sensitive, that reacts with UV light, and that is sensitized here. Okay, so these layers what we have shown is subjected to the UV light, and these layers are protected now. Now, you can see that next process is going to be the etching layer. So, the layers which are opaque can be easily etched out here. You can see that layer which are we are used here etching. Etching means removing a certain portion of the oxide and the end. First of all, we remove entire photoresist, and next we are going to etch out region which are under the opaque portion. That is what you are seeing here. Okay, so this is after etching, what you are seeing is this diagram. Okay, etching of silicon dioxide here. Now, these layers, the layer which has been etched out, we are going to introduce implant the N type of the dopants here. Okay, so again we are going to use mask here. Okay, so we for again to because here this silicon dioxide itself acts like the protection. So, there is no necessity of using mask to add N plus layer here. So, this is going to be the layer the structure what you are seeing is after implanting N type regions into the etched out regions here. Next, again we are going to deposit a photoresist layer on top of this. That is what you are seeing in the picture G, deposition of photoresist. And now we want to make a gate layer here. Okay, so for that reason we again have a mask 2 here, and you can see now here the gate region, certain area of the gate is protected here by opaque portion of the mask, and again a complete mask is subjected to UV light. This layer is now protected, and that can be etched out. Okay, you can see etching of SiO2 in between the 2 N plus regions here, and again we are going to deposit the aluminum. Okay, so on the entire surface to attach contacts, and finally here you are seeing a diagram here with attached contacts for the retained aluminum layer. And again we are using etching technique. Wherever there is contacts are not needed, we remove this aluminum layer, and you can see that only in source region, gate region, and drain region you can see the aluminum. For that we attach electrical LEDs to take out the terminals here. So, this is how the MOSFET is fabricated. We have shown just how to fabricate N channel MOSFET. Similarly, we can also understand how to fabricate P channel MOSFET also. Okay, go through the each and every step and see how we use mask, and the process used here is, if you look at the first diagram, there is an oxidization process, and there is a deposition, there is a etching, there is an implant, and so these are the various the steps used in the fabrication process. Details of this process we will study in the module 5. Okay. Okay, for the time being I will stop here, because since already time is up, and in the next class we will continue with energy band diagram of the MOSFET. Okay. If you have any questions, I would like to take it offline here. For the time being I will stop at this point.